Κυρίες και κύριοι, καλησπέρα. Είμαι ο Δημήτρης Φιλιππίδης και εδώ με τον Ηellas FM και την τηλεόραση του Ηellas FM βρισκόμαστε στην Αρχιεπισκοπή των Αρμενίων, των αδελφών Αρμενίων, τις δύσκολες αυτές στιγμές, τις στιγμές που πραγματικά ο αρμενικός λαός δίνει μια μεγάλη μάχη, δίνει μια μάχη με όλη τη δύναμή του, σηκώνοντας ανάστημα απέναντι στους εισβολείς από το Αζερμπαϊτζάν και την Τουρκία. Ο αρμενικός λαός δίνει το σύνθημα για την αντίσταση και είμαστε περήφανοι που είμαστε στο πλευρό αυτής της προσπάθειας. Μια προσπάθεια η οποία σε κάθε περίπτωση νομίζω ότι έχει όλα τα χαρακτηριστικά ενός τίμιου, ηθικού και ηρωικού αγώνα. Δεν θα μπορούσαμε λοιπόν παρά να καλύψουμε όλα αυτά τα οποία αφορούν τον αγώνα των Αρμενίων και κυρίως της Διασποράς των Αρμενίων. Η Διασπορά των Αρμενίων παίζει έναν πολύ σημαντικό ρόλο στον αγώνα που γίνεται. Και νιώθω ιδιαίτερα περήφανο σήμερα που βρισκόμαστε εδώ με έναν άνθρωπο ο οποίος στο ράλι το οποίο έγινε, στην διαδήλωση η οποία έγινε πριν από λίγες μέρες, έδωσε την ψυχή του και έβαλε όλο το πάθος του μιλώντας τη γλώσσα της αλήθειας. Είμαι πολύ περήφανος που βρίσκομαι εδώ πέρα μαζί με τον Αρχιεπίσκοπο, τον κύριο Anoushavan Tanielian και τον ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ για τη φιλοξενία. Your Eminence, thank you so much for having us here today. I know these are very historic days we're going through, very difficult days, and I really thank you for your time to have a very honest conversation and give out what you told me before, the truth.
Please accept, Dimitris, my heartfelt gratitude for this opportunity, because I believe that your mission is a very noble mission to bring awareness. It's not self-centered, but rather it's for the benefit of people who are living in different parts of the world. And I'm sure that with all our differences, we have so many common things as the residents of this most beautiful globe, which is our common home. Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And let's start, first of all, by talking about the diaspora, the Armenian diaspora. How many Armenians are here in New York, and how strong is this community in the United States?
In New York and New Jersey metro area, roughly we have 100 and 150,000 Armenians, and across the country, the number is estimated between 1.5 million. Since the turn of the 20th century, Armenians have been one of the positive ingredients of this community in blessed country of United States, and as in other countries, always they are contributors for positive things, values, as well as good things for the advantage of mankind.
And allow me to say that these values are the values, the Armenian values that we experienced back in Greece. And because we have also a very big Armenian community back in Greece, it's a culture that blended perfectly with the Greek culture. And that's why we lived together all these years, either back in Armenia, because there are many Greeks, or in Greece, where there are many Armenians, peacefully and always working together. And I think there are many common things in these cultures, and I'm happy to hear that. Regarding what is taking place today in Artsakh, what's the situation back? You will notice that I will keep saying Artsakh than saying Nagorno-Karabakh. I understand that this is the historical term, and this is how I would like to use it. And people need to understand that it's Artsakh, of course, and Nagorno-Karabakh for the rest of the people.
What it happened on September 27, unfortunately, Azerbaijan, supported by Turkey and joined by thousands and thousands mercenaries, they waged a war against Artsakh. For the information of your audience, I believe that if I provide few historical information, it will be a great help. Armenia has been part of Artsakh has been a province of Armenia since antiquity, and we know from the not only Armenian but as well as classical historians. Nevertheless, until 13th century, it was part and parcel of Armenian kingdom. After 14th century, it came under the rule of Persia, and after early 19th century, under the Russian Empire. What had happened in 20th century, unfortunately, after the Armenian genocide in 1915, in 1920, the Shushi, which is one of the most important cities of Artsakh, went through a second genocide. Thousands and thousands, almost 30,000 Armenians were massacred. And that's why in 1920, the same year, when the Red Army took rule of Artsakh and Azerbaijan and Armenia, and later the League of Nations, they proclaimed Artsakh as a disputable territory. Unfortunately, on July 5, 1921, by the pressure of Stalin, it was annexed to Azerbaijan, and that's how started the history, which is very sad because a hidden agenda was gone through 70 years, very systematic steps of closing the churches, the schools, eliminating Armenian language, and it was in 1991, before the fall of the Soviet Union, by the right of self-determinations, the people of Artsakh, they proclaimed their independence. And since then, we know that how 1994, there was the first war, and then in 2016, and now here we are, 2020.
So can we say that there was an attempt to de-Armenize Artsakh from all the policies that were followed with the churches and with against the Armenians? Can we say that some people tried to keep Armenia out of Artsakh, of the culture of the people there?
Definitely, yes, because the facts, we don't need to make any comment, but the facts already, they speak of themselves. Yeah, it's very clear.
Excellent. And regarding the situation now in Artsakh, as you said, the historical reality is there, and I think we can all understand what is taking place. What is happening now? I mean, after the end of September, we saw something that, for us, the outsiders, seems to be a really bad situation. My question is it similar to the previous wars, or does this time seem to be worse?
This time definitely is different and is worse because those who read the signs, it's very clear that they are aimed toward a second genocide. And all the official declarations, both from the authorities of Turkey and Azerbaijan, it's not only a matter of territory, but to finish up their, let's say, genocide which started back in 1915.
So we can say that it's not only about the specific area, but there is an attempt to, because Erdogan already said it,
yes,
to complete what they started back in 1915.
Yes.
This is very strong.
Instead of regretting, we see that how, unfortunately, denialism is continued. With different means, they have tried always to change, to distort history, but nevertheless, we don't need anymore to go back to history. Today already is history being repeated.
And I think this is the problem always. We don't learn the lesson from history, and history repeats.
Yes.
And in my opinion, and I would like a statement on that, we've seen the struggle for the recognition of the genocide of the Armenians. And we as Greeks, we also have the struggle for the recognition of the genocide of the Greek Pontians and the Greeks in Minor Asia. Some people on the outside could not understand why we're giving so much emphasis to the struggle for recognition of a genocide. Can we say that today our point is proven? Because once you don't recognize the genocide, you will have the chance to try to complete it or to repeat it. So is this a message to the world community that had we recognized the genocides, we wouldn't have reached this point today?
Definitely. In 1915, the genocide did happen. At that time, the world community was in the First World War. And of course, each and every country, they had their own problems, their own concerns. And because it was left unpunished, it was continued and succeeded by the Holocaust and other genocides, which we are witnessing until today. Therefore, I believe that the sooner the world community, they move forward and take positive actions, it will prevent further unjust wars.
I see, I agree. And we know that even Hitler, he was, I can say, inspired by Talat Pasha and Kemal Atatürk. And today Erdogan is inspired. Exactly. So the history continues. Are there any war crimes? You have your connections back in Artsakh. You know what is happening there. Can we say that this is a war as we know it, or there are war crimes that take place? Because, for example, the Amnesty International reported that there is a use of depleted bombs, which were prohibited back in 2010. Yes. So what is happening now?
So along with all these bombs, also schools, churches, hospitals, civilian facilities, as well as cyber crime, all these are part of that war crimes. And I believe that they are recorded very carefully, and the world community, they will take into consideration.
Can we say that, so there is not only a war on the first line, where there are soldiers of each side, but others are affected as well as the civilians?
Unfortunately, the inhabitants of Stepanakert, Shushi, they have evacuated. This is maybe one of the worst wars the world is witnessing, because day and night, not only on battlefield, they are bombarding the cities, which is three-shift war. And I believe that eventually the world will understand the depth of these atrocities and will come forward.
Now, you talked about Susi, and we saw the cathedral there. There is actually a very strong video of somebody playing violin, I believe, and I think that there is nobody who has sense in his brain and cannot cry. We saw in the bombardment the hope. However, we saw the cathedral being bombed, and so my question would be, was that an accident? Because they used to say that these are clever weapons, smart weapons.
Exactly.
So did they do it on purpose? Do you feel, Your Eminence, that this is a war against orthodoxy and Christianity?
As you mentioned already, I don't think that it was just by accident, especially today with all the technology, when you can pinpoint any place. But unfortunately, it was a very deplorable, inhuman action. And I believe sincerely that any believer, regardless of his or her faith, will condemn this unjustifiable act, which is not only against Christians or Armenians, but as well as against God. And I think that the perpetrators, they themselves, who in the name of their religion, they make announcement, a statement, They don't know their own sacred book, because when we read the Quran, they say surah, the chapter, and ayah verse. Surah Hajj, Al-Hajj, it very clearly condemns those who demolish either church or synagogue or even mosques. That's why I said this is against God. And I will not be surprised, I don't know, when all of us will depart from this world. I will not be surprised if the Prophet himself will judge them, will condemn them. But they don't care, because after all, they are godless people. Anyone who believes, he will never take action toward any sacred house of God.
And even more, anybody who believes in God would never attack civilians or innocent kids.
Exactly, yeah. Because in our Christian understanding, each and every believer is the temple of God, the house of God. We are the living. After all, the sanctuaries are made by stone, but all of us, we are living temples of God. Yeah.
Absolutely. So what is said very often is that this war is an attempt of the completion of the project of pan-Turkism. And Armenia is there, a small country, but bothering the whole completion of this project. So do you see this happening as well?
Yes, it's ongoing utopia. And as I said, religion unfortunately has been hijacked because we know that it is the most sensible layer of emotions. You can mobilize large crowds, mobs, and rally around an obsessive goal. And that's what they are doing. The bottom line, the hidden agenda is very clear. The pan-Turkism or pan-Turanism, which eventually will create a huge and serious threat, not only for Armenia, but for the entire region.
You are somebody who is really worried about what is taking place back in Artsakh. I've been in regular contact with Armenian brothers and sisters here, and I'm trying to put myself to your position. Okay. And I'm trying to think how I would feel about my country being bombed, civilians getting killed, and the world community watching, or even not reporting, or even reporting to a falsified way what is taking place. So we see this war is of 3 million Armenians against the 10 millions of Azeris and the 80 millions of Turkish, plus the ISIS fighters. As an Armenian, how do you feel when you see the world community not getting in between, not reacting, not worrying? What are your feelings?
Of course, I respect each and every country's or people's approach. After all, they have their own priorities, they have their own concerns. But in this case, silence, I believe, it's very dangerous because it validates the actions and also fuels more and more hatred, atrocities, and war crimes. And eventually, I believe that somehow it will impact, sooner or later, maybe not within years or decades, but sooner or later it will impact on our life.
So the UN, Russia, the United States, Germany, France, it's a different story maybe, they don't seem to be shocked by what is taking place. And one question out of context I would like to ask is, you are a person of God. Do you have the same feelings with simple Armenians? I see simple Armenians with anger. Anger for what's taking place against their own country and their own people. Do you have this anger or these questions inside you?
Of course, as not only as a clergy, but as human being, I share the suffering and the pain of mankind. And even if I cannot, let's say, bring my tangible, my solid, immediate input, but nevertheless I try to bring the attention of my fellow brothers and sisters. As I said, we are part of a large family, and that's why we have to take care. And let me tell you, let me give you an example. Whenever there is a fire in your neighborhood, you don't say, okay, I don't worry about it. Sooner or later, it might hurt also to you. So the earlier you take prevention, it's not only for there, but also for your own benefit.
I perfectly understand. So now, what about the diaspora? You're here, Your Eminence, the head of the Armenian community. We see that the numbers of Armenians all over the states are huge. So what is the participation of the Armenian diaspora in this war? Do we have people that traveled back to go and fight? Do we have attempts that take place, the demonstrations we see? How is the situation right now?
Well, all diaspora Armenians are geared toward very clear goal: how to create awareness and motive in action toward a global justice, as well as to Artsakh and Armenia. As I said, throughout our experience of suffering and hardship, we have learned something, that the more and more through our suffering, we can bring something positive to the family of mankind. It's for the benefit of us as well as to the larger family. In that sense, I believe that what we are doing, somehow we are paying a very existential, heavy price, not only for our sake, but as well as for the community at large.
And we can see that in Los Angeles, of course, we can see huge crowds. Here in New York, we can see big crowds. Yesterday, they sent me a video from Philadelphia. They had a very nice gathering. So they're everywhere around the States. And I think this shows in unity, because sometimes we say that unity is what we need to have. Do we see this unity within the Armenian community all together against what is happening?
Definitely. You as a journalist, you are more close all to this news, and I'm sure that maybe this is very unprecedented event where all Armenians from Australia to California, from Sweden down to Africa, they are all united. As I said, because this is not a matter of territory. This is a matter of to be or not to be. This is a matter of justice. And that's how we are trying to create that awareness.
2 years ago in New York, we had a demonstration, the Greek community, for the Macedonia issue. And we had Archbishop Dimitris on our side. He gave a very beautiful speech, and it was very inspirational for all of us. A few days ago, we saw you on the stage, talking to the crowd and speaking with many of the Armenian people there, and I could see in their eyes how inspired they got and how important it was for them to see the religious leaders to be there. So talk to me about, was it a difficult decision to go there, or was it a very easy decision for you, and what it means for you to talk to these people there?
It's not a matter of easiness or difficulty. Rather, it was part of my mission to come forward and to talk about peace, about justice. And hence, when I went there as a clergy, it was my duty and mission to talk about truth. After all, if we have an Armenian saying, there is a time to keep silence, there is a time to speak out. And this was the right time to speak out. Otherwise, we become accomplices of the atrocities. And therefore, never I hesitated when I was invited to go and to share my brothers and sisters' concern. Actually, the presence of our Greek brothers and sisters was highly commendable. After all, our relationships as Armenians and Greeks is deeply rooted in antiquity. We know from the historians Herodotus, Strabo, and others. Besides, we shouldn't forget that our recent fate, we have shared so many bitter experiences along with the Armenian genocide. Parallel, there was the Pontus Greeks genocide, and even in 1922, the massacres of Smyrna, and soon we are going to, of course, commemorate the centennial anniversary of that, let's say, very sad atrocities. That's how I believe that we have the same common ground coming from antiquity and looking always forward toward a more bright future.
And I believe that it was really encouraging having the Greek flags there, or having, there were some banners with Greek and Armenian flag, so that says a lot that we have more things in common, the two people, the Greeks and the Armenians.
Sure, definitely. I have been actually in Greece back in 1973, right after my ordination, when I offered our Armenian Christmas Mass in Athens, Greece. And it was a great experience. I remember that how you feel the power of spirituality in the people's eyes, in the entire environment. And I wish that all the countries, regardless of their faith, they more and more sincerely, they come closer together in faith and spirituality, and that's how it might create a global peace and joy.
Have you spoken to the Archbishop Elpidophoros regarding the situation?
Yes, actually I attended that very historical event when he was enthroned as the Archbishop, and I personally visited him later. Also, prior to him, I have on several occasions I have visited Archbishop Dimitris, and I'm very, let's say, thankful for especially Archbishop Dimitris had a very unique character. He was fatherly, let's say, approach, and I enjoy a lot. And
very academic.
Very, yes.
Excellent. So now, how can somebody help the Armenians? How can somebody from outside the Armenian community help? Are there any efforts? Are there any ways to help the situation in Artsakh?
Helping Armenians, I believe, has reciprocal dimension. By helping Armenians, actually the world helps itself. And I believe that it is not just a logo to attract others, but rather based upon facts. As I said, if only the Armenian genocide somehow was prevented, it would have better, let's say, it would have created better environment for the world at large. And therefore, I believe that whenever very simple gesture, a phone call, or let's say an email to our legislative authorities, it will help a lot to us, because I believe that if we don't take action now, soon we'll start to say that historical statement, Hannibal is at Portas, and it will be too late. Therefore, let us take that preventive action. And let me give a very existential example. Had we taken preventive actions toward the spread of pandemic, we would spare the precious lives of thousands and thousands of victims. In the same way, I believe that, as I said, it has reciprocal dimension.
And for the end, and it's been really helpful to understand many things, conversation, and I'm really thankful to you for this. What is your message, the message that you would like to address through Ηellas FM to the world community? Because this video will play not only here in the States, but also back in Greece and Canada and Australia and anywhere through the internet today. We can have it everywhere. So what is the message you want to send to the world community, to the Greeks that are watching, but not only the Greeks, to everybody regarding the situation today?
My heartfelt, I don't like to say message. I like to say my heartfelt words addressed to all my brothers and sisters is the following. Psalm 85 is one of the ideals, Psalms which is my favorite. It says, righteousness and peace will kiss each other, will embrace each other. Whenever there is righteousness, justice, be it at home, in business, in community, in nation, eventually peace will prevail. And therefore, with this understanding, the foundation of our society has been justice. Artificially, we can cover, but nevertheless, the truth is there. Therefore, my message, which, as I said, I don't like it, my, let's say, heartfelt words, is the following. Let us take very seriously this matter. I feel so bad when I hear from politicians or people who are ignorant. They say, well, after all, it's a piece of real estate. Why you are making so big noise, big deal? My friend, it's not a matter of a piece of real estate. As I said, first of all, it's a matter of to be or not to be. It's a matter of justice. But also, let us not forget. Let me give an example from our own life. The Statue of Liberty is standing on a very small piece of land. And you know that over last century, there was a dispute between New Jersey state and New York state, to whom it belongs. Well, can you imagine what makes difference that small piece of land? But still, it's a matter of justice, righteousness, and which eventually came the verdict, there was a peace. In the same way, I wish that all of us, with this understanding, as the cooperators of our Creator, as much as possible, let us always work toward creating light, which eventually will bring forth life, order, understanding, cooperation, peace, and prosperity. This is my heartfelt words.
Thank you so much, Your Eminence. I wish only the best. I wish for this illogical and irrational war to come to an end. And I wish to see no more victims and no more civilian victims and no more young people getting killed. But as a Greek, allow me to say that we're very proud that a small nation like the Armenian is not afraid to fight for what is fair and for justice. And this is a message probably to the world community. Thank you so much.
Thank you too.
Thank you.